Welcome back to It's Chow Time Pod. It's your host Red. I got another video today from one of my Asian brothers talking about white people and just how society has viewed white people in the last few years now, so compared to when I was a kid in the early 2000s. And he's pretty spot on about everything, so please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that, and let's get to this interesting chow. It's chow time.
Let's talk about what we're doing to white people. There's been something going on for a while now that we're being told not to notice. More to the point, that we're asking white people not only to ignore, but to accept.
Yeah, pretty
the rising
much.
tide of racial hatred against white people.
Yep.
In the past decade, there has been a noticeable cultural shift in what constitutes acceptable speech as it relates to white people. Back when I was a kid, in the early 2000s, the mainstream American culture preached about respecting each other's differences and
Yep.
not seeing color.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I don't see color. I don't see color. You know, nowadays is, oh, I am brown, 5'2", handicapped, gay, whatever.
Nowadays, we say that not seeing color is racism.
Yeah,
That you
right?
must see color.
Yeah, now not seeing color is racism. Before seeing color was racism. Oh, you notice that I'm black? Oh, you're racist. No, everybody's the same color. Now it's everybody's the same. Like, no, I'm black, or I'm Hispanic, or I'm this now. Like, why? Why do you want to minorize yourself or categorize yourself into the minority groups like that?
Color. But the more I see how things are unfolding, the more I'm convinced that this is wrong. Back then, saying
I agree.
something offhanded about white people were seen as not appropriate, just as it would be to say something offhanded about people of any other race.
This is true.
But that soon gave way to our current times.
Yeah, we talk a lot of shit on white people nowadays, and I see it even in our content here. You see it, a white cis male. Oh, the patriarchy, is racist, and what's that one word? White supremacy and things like that, which it seems just like feminism, made men the enemy, and then they had to, and everybody in that group had to specify which type of men really had the most power, which would be white cis males. And because they had the most power, and then white cis women also, follow the white cis males, now they're all oppressors. Like you even saw it in the Vice one where, oh, you're white and pretty. Oh, she has white, because she's white, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Why? How can you talk on these subjects because you're white? And it's just like, I see it now in my comments. I post the videos of The Godfather, and I still get comments of, you're not black. Like, what the Godfather is teaching is not pertain to you and your people. And I'm like, me and my people? Like, you mean men? Like that's what yes, the Godfather was really big on the black community, but what he taught wasn't just related to only men. I mean, to only black men. It relates to all men, And I grew up, in inner city, in the ghetto, in a sense. I have a lot of those types of friends, and I grew up that way, and I date black women. So listening and hearing all the things that from other cultures and other things, it matters. So you get a full picture of everything. So,
In which there exists virtually no limit to what racial minorities can and do say about white people.
yeah, that's so true. Like, minorities can say whatever they want about whites, and white people just kind of take it and they're like, yeah, we did that, like, sorry, and I know this because I have white friends that are highly educated. They'll ask me these types of questions, like, oh, if I wore a rice hat or a rice picker hat, which is synonymous with Asian culture, it's like, is that racist? And I'm like, it's just a hat. You wearing a hat and because you're white doesn't make anything that you're racist in particular. Most older Asian people would not consider that racist. Like, you wearing our attire, our things, isn't inherently racist. You know, people take this like white appropriation or just appropriation type thing a little too seriously. You know, people enjoy the culture. People enjoy what that culture has to offer, so they enjoy the clothing, they enjoy the art, they enjoy those types of things. Doesn't mean they're trying to appropriate these, like, you know, the minorities or anything.
I believe this is the natural outgrowth of a perverse ideology that teaches us that everything, every societal ill, is the fault of white people, and that
Yeah.
whatever prejudice acts we may inflict upon them does not constitute discrimination because we don't have the power to discriminate. And alarmingly, this is particularly pronounced in the younger generation.
Yep. Younger generation can care less, you know, dogging other people's races, other people's things nowadays, where people, everything was so. It's funny that we fight for so much censorship nowadays, and back in the early 90s, 2000, we fought for no censorship, and yet we censored ourselves so much more in those days than we do now.
But is it true? Do we not have the power to discriminate? Well, let's see. First, let's take a look at the racial hatred at the interpersonal level. In today's society, it has become somewhat fashionable to think things and say things about and to white people that would not be acceptable if it was said about any other race.
Yep. I hear it all the time. I mean, fuck, I'm kind of guilty of it sometimes too. I make fun of my white friends here and there. But yeah, I've seen like some jokes are not jokes. They're straight up just harsh jabs at white people. Where at least me and my friends were jokingly, you know, jabbing at each other. So
And we're being taught that this double standard is not wrong, that it is rather a form of empowerment.
yeah,
They'll attribute negative experiences that they've had with white people to their whiteness. You had an argument in line at the grocery store with a white person, they were acting entitled because they were white.
yes, we use this a lot. I mean, Asians do this a lot too. We use this for a lot for other races. You know, once a black person does something to us, oh, black people are this. You know, once a Vietnamese person does something to a Cambodian person, oh, Vietnamese people are this. Like, they literally blanket statement most races and most people through one or two particular interactions.
A white driver cut you off when you were driving, they need to check their white privilege. Your actions, your conduct.
No, but they can't be they accidentally cut you off, or you know, it was a mistake, because I cut people off by accident sometimes, you know, like I need to get in, you know, there's no way for me to get in other than try to like accidentally cut you off, you know, like I need, so I'm sorry, I'm not doing it purposely to freaking make you mad or anything like that, or you know, like we don't even think about these things. We just think, oh, he's a fucking asshole. Oh, he's white. Oh, he's white privilege. Oh, he's black because he's ghetto, or you know, because he's Asian, he's fucking nerdy, or whatever it is.
Conduct, and your existence, in other words, boil down to your whiteness. And ashamedly, at one point in time, this was how I used to think as well. And beyond the people in my circle, I noticed that many people of color have this sort of blasé attitude, an attitude most particularly pronounced when there are no other white people around. Things are being said not just
Yeah,
behind
I think
closed doors,
so.
but out in the open. Not just between close friends, but between complete strangers. So here's the thing. This is something that I've experienced countless times, so I know that there are other people who are experiencing it too.
Yeah.
I know it must resonate with at least some of you. The difficulty here is that no matter how many anecdotes I share, they are just that, anecdotes.
Yeah.
And people who refuse to believe that this is happening will just chalk it up to my experiences being a fluke. Or worse yet, they'll say I'm lying. So I've compiled some TikTok videos. I want you to take a look at the things that are being said about white people, especially by the younger generation.
And this
the
is
kind of
on
statements people wouldn't
TikTok.
dare
This is
say
on
about
social
people of any
media.
other race. Take a look at what is stunningly in vogue in today's society and ask yourselves, where does this lead to years down the line?
Yeah.
You have a token white and you're hanging out with your friend group of color, you need to ask permission from everybody in the group to bring your white friend. Like, don't just bring them with them. I might not be in the mood to deal with white shenanigans that day. That's the
White shenanigans that day. Like, I don't even know what white shenanigans are, tell you the truth. But this Asian woman feels so strongly about it. Like, if a friend is inviting a friend over, invite him over. I don't care if it's a white person, an Asian person, or a black person. Why I need to prepare myself for some white shenanigans, or what the fuck? It's crazy.
That's all I'm saying. And another thing, it feeds into their ego. Like, don't let them think they're a good white person.
Accomplices ask, how can they support Black and Indigenous people of color? And sometimes I really don't know what to say, but here's one easy way. Just don't have babies.
can single
Damn, that was harsh. Just don't have babies. So let your race die out is pretty much what they're saying. And imagine any other race being told this.
single-handedly cause the white genocide that they are so afraid of. With 2.25 billion Asian women and half a billion white men, baby, it'll only take 2 generations. In 2 generations, there will no longer be any blonde-haired.
These are some things I noticed about white American culture. Being grounded is a punishment to them. That's what they call punishment. The least grounded, least balanced, most destructive race considers being grounded a punishment? Yeah. They also say really violent phrases. They say things like, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Why do we have to kill the birds? Why is everything so violent? It's almost like one's language and phrases reflects one's nature.
So that new Jeffrey Dahmer movie on Netflix is the perfect example of the sensationalization of white
Is she a cat? Why does she have the like? She's saying she loves us or what?
violence. People have a much easier time sympathizing with white criminals than they do with black victims. And people think these shows are harmless, but they actually contribute to a much bigger issue. It contributes to the viewpoint that white people are less violent than everyone else, and white violence is something to be consumed in media, and that's it.
What is with Caucasian people?
It's the most serial killers happen to be white. Just what it happens to be. And there happens to be a lot of white people in the United States. So when you take the extreme of each of the races and you calculate the numbers, the extreme amount of whites are going to outweigh the extreme amounts of all the other races, considering Asians and like blacks only make up like 6% each. So yeah, it just happens to be making movies about white killers because there's so many of them.
People in like their inability to like read a fucking room. Like, y'all act like you don't understand shit because y'all be the first ones during a conversation about the Holocaust to get so mad when black people be like, you do realize that the original Jewish people were black, right? White people do not need to explain to anybody about us all
Yeah, that's pretty anti-Semitic right there.
bleeding red because, baby, you all are the people that need to learn that lesson. Clearly, history shows that you all are the people that like to pillage and eradicate, enslave and oppress, attempt to suppress.
They say this, but I think all races did this. I mean, have you ever watched the Apocalyptico? Like, the Mayans and the Aztecs literally destroyed their own kinds left and right because of, conquering and enslaving. Like, it wasn't just white people. Black people did it to other black people. Asians did it to other Asians. Like, it is what it is.
Greatness because you all simply don't have it.
Right? Here go y'all cum goblins who don't even live in the fucking city. Which, by the way, the Q-tip people
What's
are
she
the
called?
last ones to ever talk about somebody stealing anything. Y'all wouldn't be in this country had it not been for y'all stealing it. So y'all are more focused on people looting.
It's funny they bring up all of this history stuff, and it's just like, do you think the people of nowadays did that or wanted to do that or wished to do those things? Like, most people just want to live a normal life. Why do you bring up such history that literally does not pertain to these particular people anymore? Yes, they originally did come here through those means, but they live normal lives now. Just like how, they always want to bring up, oh, why did men do this? Why did men do that? Like, wait, did our history, like, sorry, I meant to say, why women can't vote, or women, didn't have the right to vote, or did all this. Like, did you live in that era? Oh, women shouldn't have bank accounts and stuff like that. And it's just like, did you live in that era? No? Then, like, it's nice to listen to the, like, go back in history and all, but it doesn't always pertain to what's happening now.
And trying to get necessities and things that they need. And yes, a TV is a fucking necessity thing. You feel like you're better than because people are out here stealing and you
TV is a necessity? That's more of a luxury to me.
Never. First of all, if you are a Mayo monster, that is how your ancestors got everything from stealing. People.
Damn. A Mayo monster. How your ancestors got everything. Okay.
And that's a behavior that's very common among white women. You may have not intended that, but there are many
Why do they say it that way?
white women who act exactly like you.
If you can find it in your heart this holiday season to donate to the Discriminated White Fund, you'd be helping millions.
Nothing says high protein like cicadas and cheese. Make sure you...
And nothing says caucasity like that right there.
What caucasity looks like.
What the fuck? I didn't even heard this term, caucasity.
Like it's an amusement park.
Explain to me why white people don't wear shoes outdoor, but wear shoes inside.
We are both white women. We are inherently a danger in spaces for Black, Indigenous, and other people of color simply by existing.
It's white cis men who are a part of the far right-winged ideology of fascism. That is a true threat and the terrorism to this country.
If BIPOC stand in the street and scream at the top of their lungs, I hate all white people, I want all white people to go die, die white devil, you cracker bitch, that's still not racism.
You're not
How
one
is
of
that
the
racism?
good white people. Stop separating us from the bad white people. Don't sit out there in comments and say, we don't claim them. We are them. We are the ones shooting up schools. We are the ones raping people, the ones enslaving people.
It's sad when white people themselves are blaming themselves because of the culture and, like, claiming themselves or whatever it is. It's just people do bad things of all races,
People.
And I'll say it. I hate being white. Which means I'm one of the good ones.
All white people are inherently racist.
Yes.
Can you be racist against white people?
Based off of the definition of racism, yes, but it's not gonna hurt them and hurt their opportunities like it does people of color.
Yeah,
Well,
listen.
technically you can. It's not like
White people don't get hurt from racism, guys.
an issue.
You can't oppress the oppressor.
It helps you sleep at night. I'm racist to white people, and I'm proud of it.
Why do people not understand that you can't be racist to white people? It's impossible. The system is not set up that way. You can insult white people, but it is not racism. Me calling a white person a tub of mayonnaise and a flower-looking ass, that's not racist.
You went all the way to Africa to physically take black people from their homes, shove them in on boats where a lot of them got diseases and died, told them where they could sit on a bus, told them which schools they could go to, which water fountains they could use.
Again, you're Asian. These things didn't affect you. Why bring these particular issues up?
Bathrooms they could use, and that's sugarcoating it. Those are just terms. I'm not even describing all the disgusting things that happen, and they don't even want revenge. They are letting you guys skate by asking for equal rights.
You hear this? Revenge. We should get revenge for our ancestors being oppressed and being, taken advantage of. So should I go and kill all the communists for killing 60 to 70% of my country's population because we were oppressed by communism? Come on.
That's it? And you're still saying no? They are not as angry as they should be. Y'all are getting off easy, and you're still saying no? Fuck you.
Some people look at that and chalk it up to the grumblings of the powerless. That's the idea that when you have a power disparity, the less powerful sort of has this general society given leeway to complain about the more powerful. The villagers complaining about their king doesn't have the same ring as the king making snide and crude comments about the villagers. But that's not what's going on here. Because although certain segments of our society refuse to believe this, even as evidence mount before our very eyes, in one side of the political aisle, people of color actually have greater power than white people.
Yep.
That is the truth that is not being acknowledged by the people that need to hear it, because this gets in the way of them wielding.
I mean, we see it in Hollywood. Like I've seen a lot of videos and articles talking about how Hollywood wants to get rid of white actors. They want to minorize, wash all of the actors. That's why there's so many movies and shows now where the main characters are not white anymore. You know, it's literally being methodically done this way.
That power in the way they want, malignantly. I've heard from somewhere that politics is downstream of culture, and I think that is certainly correct. We have a mainstream culture that tells us it's okay to hold prejudice and hateful view of white people.
Yeah.
And our politics is then infused with this energy, and we see active, overt, and on the books racial discrimination of white people that those who are perpetuating this hatred is refusing to see as discrimination. They'll say, no, this is remediation.
I don't get that because it's white people, it's not racism. Racism is disgust or hate towards a particular race. Just because they're white doesn't mean they're not a race and we're not being racist towards them.
These are the same people who are making tenuous arguments that some of our race-neutral laws discriminate against people of color. And this is certainly evidence that in one side of the political aisle, people of color have more power than white people. Because if we didn't have the power, we wouldn't be able to put into place practices and policies that does this. That's what power is. Things like Minneapolis local government agreeing to a contract with the teachers union that says white teachers must be fired first. New York City's government enacting a policy of having white seniors go to the back of the line on life-saving COVID treatment. A college professor that says white people should be killed and facing no repercussions. Cornell University banning white people from rock climbing lessons. One of many instances of liberal colleges doing the utmost to exclude and ostracize white students. BIPOC only events equal no whites, but they don't have the guts to say that, even though that is what that is. That's what makes us different than the mere grumblings of the common villager. The villagers have surrounded the palace, demanding Marie Antoinette's head. The power dynamics have shifted. That is a fact. Progressive media outlets do not cover these stories. Some people out there have no idea that this is going on. But worse, some others out there know but agree with what's going on.
I think I have a good amount of minority friends that actually kind of agree with this, and it kind of upsets me, to tell you the truth, because we're no better. We're being no better. That's exactly how I see it. We're being no better.
And for those people to convince themselves that this is not racial discrimination, they play mind tricks and word games. They use phrases and talking points like
Jedi mind tricks. It's not racism. It's not racism. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, it's not racism. Yeah, we can be perfectly fine to say that now.
Like, punching up. You can't be racist to white people.
Yeah.
You can't oppress the oppressor, meaning I'm acting oppressively, but I've designated you as the oppressor, so everything goes.
Yeah.
Or Abraham X. Kennedy's infamous words, the only way to remedy past discrimination is current discrimination. Or when people say things like, what we're doing to white people is not racism because racism is prejudice plus power and we don't have the power. They use all this mind-bending apparatus to delude themselves into believing what they're doing faces no...
It's very similar to Evanism and the way they spin about their conversations, saying like, oh no, we don't hate men. Men aren't the worst. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, quantity. But in the back of their minds, perhaps in their subconscious minds, is racial revenge. We experienced it. You experienced it too. See how you like it. That people of color are using our newfound power to act this way and then pretend like none of this is going on leads me to believe that we would have done the same thing that white people did were we to be in their historical position. Because such acts have its roots in human nature.
This is why I said we're no better. As soon as power swayed into the minority side, minorities did the exact same thing that they're putting on white people.
Not white people nature. And one can only imagine what might happen in the coming decades when the demographics of the US will have shifted such that white people will no longer constitute the majority. When the younger generation you've just seen have graduated from elite schools and hold positions of power in our institutions, our government, corporate...
There's going to be a lot more laws pertaining to white people and what they can and cannot do. He's right, once these minorities go into politics, go into government, go into all these things, they are going to change it. And it's happening already. We see it. Look at Marvel. Look at the shows that they are producing. They're putting minorities in those shows are like to produce and write those shows, and those minorities are literally making it so that white people are not the main subject anymore, and they're literally trying to put all other races into these shows, when even these shows, like, you know, we'll go with the Little Mermaid, it's doesn't make sense to switch out the character when the character was a beloved redhead. Now, you know, like, nothing racist about it in a sense, but once someone is like, if I enjoyed this particular story and it was told this particular way and I watched it this particular way, then all of a sudden you tell me that exact same story from the, you know, thing again, and then you totally changed up the characters. It's a little bit like, you know, jarring.
Corporations, entertainment, news media, and so forth, how they might, in wielding the levers of society, be able to rationalize, using their adult brain, the hatred that was embedded in their minds during their adolescence.
Yeah, you know what? There's another one, good one. In She-Hulk, I didn't watch the series. It was really upsetting to me. I really wanted to, but it was just so bad. In there, Jessica Gao, which is the front runner for that show, which is Asian, totally made fun of Kevin Feige and how, like, his, just like about everything about him, and it was perfectly fine because Kevin Feige happens to be white. And I tell you the truth, I thought that particular segment of that was kind of horrible.
What we're seeing is just the beginning. To the white people who are watching, I just want to say, you are not an oppressor for refusing to accept an ideology that teaches people to hate you, that teaches you that you are inherently bad, that your children are inherently bad.
This pertains to us, men, because this is exactly the same brushstrokes that they've put on men, right? But now they've changed it from just men to white cis men mostly. But women are included in this particular thing too. But yeah, shit's going crazy.
That you're inherently racist no matter what you do or how you think. That you need to repent by taking affirmative steps in your life.
I see a lot of white people like, oh yeah, I was oppressor, I feel bad. And I'm like, why? Like, you didn't do these things. You didn't do these particular things. Like it's so weird that when someone does something bad, and whatever race they happen to, or creed they happen to come from, is kind of what we associate those people to be. And yeah, it's kind of horrible that we're putting white people literally as, you know, the devil back in the, like, it's just literally like that again.
To redress harms that your ancestors may have done, or the racist actions of other white people.
Yeah.
In fact, you are not an oppressor, period. You did not choose to be born white, just like any of us did not choose to be born in
This is true.
And to ask of you, at the individual level, for example, to give your life in service of people of color, to be used as physical barriers at protests, to give away your house to black people instead of your children, all actual things that have been publicly demanded of white people, to ask this of you is morally reprehensible collective punishment. You are not under any obligation to carry yourself in any sort of way that others demand of you just because of the color of your skin.
Yeah.
This, you need to do this and you need to do that because you benefit from privilege thing is bogus.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just a way for people harboring racial animus to attack you, to say that the accomplishments you've achieved in your life isn't yours, and to silence you.
Yep.
It is not you. It is this ideology that is wrong and perverse. It is one cloaked in a shroud of pseudo-justice.
Just like how we talk about modern women and feminism, it's the ideology itself that is the problem. It's not the women. It's the ideology that is, ingrained into these women.
Justice and self-righteousness, all the while excreting toxic fumes of racial hatred. It blames all white people for the actions of their ancestors, something you have no control over,
You literally
while
do
absolving
not.
black people of personal responsibility for their own individual actions by holding that black people commit acts of harm, for example, towards another community. That's the fault of white supremacy. White people are controlling them like puppets on a string. It's a backwards, transgressive ideology. If you don't harbor any hate in your heart but want to fight it as a matter of principle, this does not make you racist or bigoted. If you refuse to accept their premise in your head, but are too afraid to voice your opinion, you're neither a coward nor a bad person.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can see why some of these people, like blame themselves and, putting all this on themselves because everybody around them is telling them that's your fault. It's your fault. So I feel bad for white people that seem to take this on to themselves. Like, oh yeah, all of this oppression and all this is my fault, my people's fault. I should be blamed for it. Like, like it's not. It's not your fault. It's not. Like, bad people do bad things. If they happen to be white, they happen to be Asian, they happen to be black. It doesn't matter. They just do bad things. We shouldn't blanket all of white people for the past of what white people did. That's just, how are we going to move forward from this if we keep going back so far into like slavery days, which is what, 2,000 years ago? When slavery started in the United States, right? So, like,
you're of a liberal bent, but there's a small corner in your brain telling you as you're watching this video that perhaps some of this is wrong. Listen to your intuition. Maybe you think, oh, I agree with most of what the progressive left teaches about racial justice, but just not with some of this disagreeable stuff, only at the extremes. I'm here to tell you that the rot starts at the core.
Yep.
This racial hatred of white people is a natural outgrowth, part and parcel of an ideology that attempts to indoctrinate us into believing that there is current systemic oppression going on, that all racial disparities we see today is the sole result of oppression.
Yeah, this is we talk about the oppression Olympics. The only way to win this oppression Olympics is to make one blanket oppressor. And before it used to be men, right? Again, it used to be men. I think men are still the oppressors for majority of the things now, but now we also put the cherry on top of white people.
Oppression by white people, when there are other more plausible explanations to be had that these same people are silencing as impermissible hate speech. They're telling you, shut up, you'll take it, and you'll like it.
Yeah.
But contrary
exactly
to what they're saying,
you
you don't have to take that.
Don't.
You can believe that the things that have been done in the past were morally wrong, as well you should, all the while believing that what is currently going on is also wrong, that we're going backwards, that this is history rhyming with itself. The table is turning in an eye for an eye manner.
Yep.
As the great Mahatma Gandhi once said, an eye for an eye will leave the whole world blind.
Yep.
But those driven by hatred would sooner gouge everyone's eyes out than realize that true victory for people of color would have been having history record that when the power dynamics shifted, we treated white people with the kindness that their forefathers may not have shown our forefathers.
Correct.
But now, it will say when we gained the power, we turned around and started doing some of the same stuff to white people.
Yeah, it makes you think, is it really white people? Or is it just because of power? These are dynamics of people in power, right? So once a person has power, once a group has power, are they willing to relinquish that? Are they going to do everything they possibly can to keep that power? Yeah, that's what most people do.
Segregation, social ostracization, hatred sanctioned by government and law. And we're doing all of this while pretending like we're doing something valiant.
Yeah, we are doing that, right?
We missed our bus. But that doesn't mean that there can't be a course correction. So, to some people of color watching who are engaging in this sort of hatred, whether or not you're acutely aware, the same people that act like white people as a collective are not people, but rather some pernicious alien force that has come to invade the earth. With this video, I implore you to ask yourself, what are we doing to white people? As some people love to say, do better.
Yeah, that's what I tell you guys, do better.
Happy New Year, everyone.
How is that chow? Charlie, fuck. He spit out facts right there. And all the examples. I mean, I've been seeing this a lot lately. I just can't seem to put it into words the way Charlie did. Charlie did a really good job of it. And yeah, I know we're a men's channel and we talk about, men's stuff, but this stuff pertains to us too. Especially just social aspects of things. Like, I feel bad for some of my white friends because they are the ones that conform to it. They're like, oh yeah, my ancestors did do that and it's all my fault, and the way they act about it and they go about it, I feel like that's so sad. Like, you didn't do anything wrong, man. So yeah, let's have a discussion about it. I know this is a big ass topic. I know most of my audience, I think, is minorities. I think I do have a good amount of white people, but let's talk about it. Like, white people, what do you guys feel? Are you guys feel like you guys like getting thrown under the bus every chance that something happens with you guys? Because I feel like it is. So please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that, and I'll catch you guys next time. It's chow time.